Alright, another way of acquiring PPE or property, plant, and equipment. This time, pag-uusapan natin ang issuance of share capital as a way of acquiring a PPE. So, the buyer, magbigay siya ng shares of stock niya kay seller. Usually, meron tayong tatlong value na pwede nating gamitin dito sa pag-issue ng share capital. Ang fair value ng PPE na na-receive ng buyer from the seller, yung fair value ng asset na ibinigay ng seller kay buyer, then yung fair value ng shares of stocks na binigay ng buyer kay seller. So, yan ang fair value ng shares of stock na binigay ng buyer kay seller. Another value na pwede natin gamitin is the par value of the shares of stock. Dito, fair value of the shares of stock. Dito naman, ang par value or the stated value of the shares of stock. So, the biggest question here on the issuance of the share capital is how much is the cost of the asset? And how much do we record the shares of stock? Magkano ang cost ng asset natin na nakuha natin from the seller? And magkano ang i-record natin sa shares of stock na binigay natin kay seller? So, ito yung mga iba't ibang values na pwede nating ma-encounter sa issuance of the share capital. Para maiintindihan natin itong issuance of shares of stock, magbibigay ako ng practice questions. So, ito po ang ating practice questions para maiintindihan natin ang issuance of share capital. So, the practice question is, OSF company acquired the assets of Swedish American company. So, ang buyer natin is si OSF company. Ang seller natin is Swedish American company. With the following fair value, the land is 5 million, the building is 8 million, and equipment of 3 million. Ito yung mga in-acquire ni OSF company from the Swedish American. So we have the land, the building, and the equipment. OSF company issued 100,000 shares with a par value of 150 pesos per share. The shares had a quoted price of 170 pesos. Ang quoted price, yan po yung fair market value. It is the same as the market value on the date of purchase of the property. Nag-issue ang OSF company na 100,000 shares of stock. Merong quoted price or the fair market value is 170 pesos per share at ang par value or stated value ng shares of stock na yan ay 150 pesos. Ang in-acquire ni OSF company from Swedish American ay land, building, at equipment. At meron itong fair market value na 5 million, 8 million, and 3 million. So kung ito total mo lahat itong mga assets na in-acquire ni OSF company, we have a fair market value of those PPE na na-acquire niya from the seller. Fair market value ng PPE ay 16 million. So, kung ang gagamitin natin ay fair market value ng asset na in-acquire ni buyer from the seller, ito po ay 16 million. Kapag ang gagamitin naman natin is the fair value of the shares of stocks, ang fair value ng shares of stock is the 100,000 shares times 170 pesos per share. So, kung ang gagamitin natin ay ang fair value ng shares of stock, yan po ay nagkakahalaga ng 17 million. Kinuha natin yan from the 100,000 shares times the 170. Kapag ang gagamitin naman natin is the par value of the shares of stock, yan po ay 100,000 times the par value of 150. The par value of the shares of stock is 15 million. Yan po ang par value or stated value ng shares of stock. Kung ang gagamitin natin ay ang fair value of the PPE or the asset na na-acquire natin from the seller, our entry is kung ang gagamitin natin is the fair value of the PPE na 16 million, we will debit the fair value of the land of 5 million and the building for 8 million and debit to the equipment of 3 million. At ang ibinigay ng buyer to the seller is the shares of stock. Credit to the share capital of 15 million. Remember this, yung share capital, nire-record natin yan at par value or stated value. Hindi natin ito nire-record more than the par value or stated value of the shares. So we have a credit of share capital of 15 million. Pero 16 million ang fair value ng PPE natin. So meron tayong another credit account of share premium. So, meron tayong share premium of 1 million. Alright? Yung difference ng par value ng share capital at yung fair value ng assets na nakuha natin, yung excess niya ay mapupunta sa share premium. We credit the share premium of 1 million. Yan po ay nasa stockholders equity natin. Yan po yung dating account na additional paid-in capital. Kapag ang gagamitin naman natin is the fair value of the shares of stock, which is 17 million. 17 million dahil the asset is 2 or more, gagamit tayo ng fair value. I-allocate natin yan sa fair market value of the asset. Therefore, ang computations natin, in order to allocate this asset, our computation is alright, so ganito ang ating computations of the allocations of the land, building, and equipment. Ang fraction natin, we got it from the fair value of these assets. Ang fraction ng land is 5/16 times 17 million fair value of the shares of stocks. Ang entry natin is so, ang ating entry, kapag ang gagamitin natin ay yung fair value of the shares of stock is debit to the land of 5,312,500, debit to the building of 8,500,000, the equipment for 3,187,500, then we credit the share capital of 15 million, yung par value lang ang ilalagay natin na amount sa share capital. Tatandaan mo yan. Par value palagi or stated value palagi ang ilalagay natin sa account na share capital. Any excess sa fair value will go to the account share premium. So, dito, we credit our share of 2 million. Kasi 17 million ang fair value ng shares of stock. At ito ang ating computations of the allocations of the asset. Kapag ang ginamit naman natin is the par value of the shares of stock, ang ating magiging computation is so, ganito ang computations ng ating allocations of the assets. We have the fractions of 5/16 times the 15 million na par value, kung yan ang gagamitin natin. So, for the land, we allocate 4,687,500. For the building, we have 7,500,000. And for the equipment, we have 2,812,500. So, ang ating magiging journal entry is Journal entry on the par value is debit to the land of 4,687,500, debit to the building of 7,500,000, and debit to the equipment of 2,812,500. Then we credit the share capital of 15 million. Wala na tayong share premium dito kasi ang ginamit natin is the par value. So walang excess. So ganito po ang issuance of the shares capital. Kung given lahat itong value na ito, we will go with the order of priority. Ang order of priority natin ay the fair value of the asset received. The asset received or the PPE received or the property from the seller. So itong amount na ito ang magiging answer natin. And the second order of priority is the fair value of the shares of stock. The last but not the least is the par value of the shares of stock. So, tatandaan mo na kapag given ang lahat ng value na ito, ang answer mo will be the fair value of the PPE. Tatandaan mo sa share of capital, ang amount ng i-credit natin sa share capital is always the par value of the shares. And any excess will go to the account share premium. So, lahat po ng excess na amount mapupunta sa account na share premium. So, ganito po ang ating issuance of share capital. I'll see you in my next acquisitions of PPE.